Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hello Word, the podcast where we dive into English vocabulary to make learning fun and easy. I'm Alex, your host, and today we're exploring an important verb that we often use when talking about agreeing with something we didn't want before or accepting something as true. Our word of the day is admit. To admit means to agree or accept that something is true, often reluctantly. This could mean acknowledging a mistake, accepting a fact, or even just agreeing with something that may have been hard to accept at first. For example, if someone says, "I must admit that learning English takes effort," they're acknowledging something they feel is true even if it wasn't easy to say. Some other words that are similar to admit are acknowledge, confess, and concede. Let's look at these in action. You might say, "She had to acknowledge that she was late," or "he confessed his love for cooking," or "they finally conceded that the project would take longer than planned." All of these words imply that someone is accepting or recognizing something as true, even if it's uncomfortable. Now, the opposite of admit would be to deny or reject something as true. For example, you might say, "He will never deny that he loves chocolate," or "they continue to reject the idea that they made a mistake." Here, deny and reject show that someone is refusing to accept something as true. So, how can we use admit in everyday life? Well, there are plenty of situations where admit comes up naturally. If you're talking to a friend, you might say, "I'll admit I was wrong about that movie, it was actually great." Or, if you're discussing your plans, you could say, "I admit I'm nervous about the presentation tomorrow." Admit is also common when someone is opening up or being honest, like, "I admit I don't know the answer." Let's go over a few more sentence examples. She had to admit that she needed help. "I admit that I didn't study enough." And after a long discussion, he finally admitted that she was right. To wrap things up, today we talked about the verb admit, which means to agree or accept that something is true. We covered a few synonyms like acknowledge, confess, and concede, and antonyms like deny and reject. I hope this helps you feel confident about using admit in your own conversations. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Hello Word. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. It really helps others find our show. And for a bit of practice, I'd love for you to make your own sentence using admit and share it in the comments below. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep expanding your English vocabulary.